Hey, welcome to the Inder Bains show. This is episode 3. Thank you for joining me on today's show. Today, we're going to talk about a couple things here. I want to talk to you guys about um, the NBA playoffs, where they're going. Just talk a little bit about that. Um, Looks like the tables have turned. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about a couple things that happened down in Washington, D.C. A few weeks ago in this for Sikhs in the world. Basically, we'll talk a little bit about that. Other things in related news. Regular normal news and the world of politics. Uh, you know, so we're going to get talking about this today. So the NBA playoffs, very interesting, huh? The Oklahoma City Thunder coming back and taking a commanding 3-2 lead in the series. Now, I know I didn't get to talk. I didn't come on the podcast for Game 4. But man, I watched that Game 4, and I was watching it. And I kind of felt was falling asleep, especially in uh, around that fourth quarter, in the beginning of the fourth quarter, like that second half, actually, I should say, because some of the third quarter as well. Because that game, though the Pacers were doing the best they could, and they really did to put everything on the floor. But that second half, going into that fourth quarter, it just seemed like, man, the buckets, it wasn't dropping. The shots weren't going in for both teams, not just for Indiana, but even for Oklahoma. Their shots weren't going in either. And so to go in that game, the first half, you could see that Oklahoma City, they just seemed so burnt out. Like literally, they really had seemed burnt out in that first half, and there was a lot of speculation, and just listening um, into the commentary from ESPN and the ABC folks that SGA, he was extremely tired. Their top player, he was tired. He was exhausted. He was burnt out, playing so many minutes in the previous 3 games. And I was looking, and I was like, wow, if this is the case, these young guys, this all it tells that this offseason, rather whoever wins between the two teams, like they're gonna have to take at least a week off, at maximum, actually take a week off, and then they're gonna have to get back into the gym and really start working on themselves and taking care of their bodies and actually um, getting ready for another 82 season and really trying to figure out how to maintain getting into a long playoffs in the playoffs for the long term. Like this year has been for um, Oklahoma City and including the Pacers. But then what happened was in that second half, that fourth quarter, right? The buckets weren't dropping for both teams, so you're like holding on. My God, like come on, let's get them through. Let's go. Somebody get something going through. And every time you looked at it, man, Oklahoma City was just right there, right like within like a couple of shots away. And eventually, by a few minutes left, maybe 4 minutes left of the game or 3 minutes left of the game, then you saw Indiana started burning out. And somewhere the tables turned and the wind started going in Oklahoma City's favor, and they were able to pull that victory out and win the game. Now, game 5, you go in yesterday and watch the game 5 series. I mean, the game stayed close for the most part. Well, it seems close, but the stats, if you look at them, they were really off. Like in the first quarter, it's ended at first quarter. Oklahoma had 32, and the Pacers had 22. It was a 10-point deficit, and then go into the second quarter, still Oklahoma City ended with ended up with 4 more points ahead of the Pacers with 27 in the second quarter and 23 for Indiana. But then it looked like Indiana was going to turn it back around and try to pull something. But at the end, Oklahoma got the best of it at home, and they were able to pull off to win that game um, with the final score of 120-109. So it was remarkable to see that somebody else than SGA showed up with Jalen Williams scoring 40 points and SGA scoring 31 points. Where on the Pacers side, you know, Pascal Siakam was their leader again, the MVP, right? 28 points, and the guy that's supposed to be the MVP, right? He only had 4 points in Tyrese Halliburton. So it's you could see that Pascal has that that experience. He understands it. He's been there. He's won a championship with the Raptors. So he has that background. So he understands it. Guys like Hallenberg, it looks like he was burnt out because he seemed he was burnt out in game four, and three, and now look, here we are, 3-2 basically. So there's gonna be they're gonna have to come out now because now their backs on the wall. The only benefit to them is that they're home in Indiana, and that crowd's gonna get right behind them. The Pacers fans are great. Um, they're gonna get right behind them and support them, and we'll see. Let's see how the Pacers respond to this. Nothing lost there yet because Pascal's there. They got T.J. McConnell. They got a couple of players there that can um, pull up some shots and start getting out there. Desmith as well, and they could get on the defense and really put it out there. So it's not lost for the Pacers, but man, when I watched the other game, not game four, but yeah, game four, sorry, not game five. But when I watched game four, it just seemed like, man, that the shots were not dropping, and it seemed like everybody was getting burnt out. And I think it was game three I was watching where um that you could see that some of these players are now looking like it. They didn't. There was like no fear, to put it that way. So like where game one, you saw there was fear in the Pacers, right? They're just taking it. They're maneuvering their way. Game one obviously was stolen, right? Um, a tight game between Oklahoma and the Pacers, and the Pacers stole that game at the end. Game two, right? It seemed like the Pacers were dominant, but game three, game four just looked like, man, there's um there's a lot to be said, like at the end, like when you're looking at it, man, like nobody, like I didn't see anyone feared anyone on that team. Everybody looked equal, and I think it kind of between these last two games, 4 and 5, um I think it puts a message out to the other teams in the NBA, um that these young guys are still young, and there's a lot that they need to learn, a lot. They're going to learn a lot from this, but they're gonna have to do a lot to make themselves better and stronger, um, and more prepared for the next playoffs rounds next year. Basically, what I'm saying. But what I had thought, and here's where I'm coming from, is what I had originally had thought watching when I saw Indiana beat New York and Oklahoma City dominate on their end. And when these two teams got to game one, I had really thought, man, there's other teams that need to start worrying, right? Boston, uh, Cleveland, obviously, they got beat by them, by Indiana. New York, obviously, they got beat by Indiana. And, I've told you guys before, the Sixers have to worry about them now. Um, who knows what the heck's going to happen with Philly. It's kind of ridiculous. That's what we say now, right now, at this point in 2025. Well, we should be a dominant team. And then on the other end as well, from the Western end, uh, an aging team in Golden State, the Lakers, right, the Clippers. Um, these three teams that have top all stars, top players, right? Lakers with LeBron, Steph Curry with Golden State, Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers, uh, Kevin Durant, who's still in Arizona, even though it looks like he's probably going to leave the Suns. Um, but even Arizona, beginning, it was like, man, these teams are going to have to watch out because that's Oklahoma City right there. But it looks like Oklahoma is like kind of that fear, the way they dominated in the playoffs, that put like on a put a high alert out there. It seems like that alert that's come down now, and that going into next season, these teams are beatable. Oklahoma, and after whoever wins the series between Oklahoma and Indiana, um, they're definitely going to have to sit down and really evaluate their players and this off season. And um, just thinking about those both teams, they're going to have to probably pick up um, some more seasoned players, more muscle, to really support them. And they're going to have to get more player. They're going to have to pick up at least one or two that actually have the experience of what it's like to be in the playoffs and really the grind of the playoffs. Yeah, they're experiencing it right now, and Indiana has Pascal Siakam that has that mentality because of his previous experience with Toronto. Um, but they're gonna have to still pick up somebody, and so is Oklahoma. Gonna have to pick up somebody to get them even more prepared for next season. I think it's players. So when you look at it, is it a player or is it a coach? What could it be? I mean, it could be a coach as well. But here's the thing: most of these young players, they really react to other players on their team, um, that actually have a name, that are known. Sometimes they will react to the coaches, but we've seen that here and there where coaches sometimes lose the locker, or it kind of starts falling apart. So things had changed there, and then just look at Milwaukee with the Bucks, Giannis and them. Uh, they got rid of their coach who took them to the playoffs and got the ring, and then they ended up firing him, and they brought on our former coach, in Doc Rivers. And look at that team. That team hasn't been the same. And I mean, you could say whatever you want about Doc Rivers because wherever he goes, it seems like the teams never do well. And he's only had that um, one NBA playoff victory when it came to the finals champion. He has one ring from Boston, and that too he had. He had Kevin Garnett, KG. He had Paul Pierce, Rondo, Ray Allen. I mean, they were stacked. Perkins. They had good players around them, and they were able to beat the Lakers and win their ring. But that was it. To pay, I don't think Boston did any. I don't think Boston or Doc Rivers, they were able to go back, and they had ended up losing to the Lakers. But that was it basically. So you look at those things and you're like, huh, Doc Rivers, that's one. And the coaches, when you look at the coaches, sometimes the coaches don't have it, unfortunately, and it is hard to find a good coach that could really get the players motivated for 82 games, sorry, and also be ready for the playoffs and however many rounds that'll go, how many weeks basically. But another sad thing about talking about coaches is that New York Knicks, they got rid of their coach, Thibs. Makes no sense at all that they got rid of their coach. Everybody's been saying this. The stats are there. 25 years after the New York Knicks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and this guy took them to, I think it was 5 playoff series. He put him, yeah, for the 5 seasons that he was there. Took them each season to the playoffs. Finally made it to the conference finals. And, unfortunately, they got burnt out by Indiana and they ended up losing that series. Um, I thought personally that that team was going to get even better, but now they got rid of their coach. Uh, that makes no sense at all. Why they would get rid of their coach? Because I think Thibs, um, I think he is a good coach. I know um, there's a lot of stuff that has said about him, about the style he coaches and how aggressive he can be on about being defense oriented and defense minded, really grinding it out in a long season. But I actually like that because I think it's, to me, he's more of old school of a coach than some of these coaches that only care about shoot the ball away, keep shooting threes, take the jump shot, just go for it. Thibs was actually coaching his players to get down into the lane and force your way to get the twos and causing to get to the foul line. I think that was, I've always believed in that way, to fight for every point, because that only helps you as a player in the team versus the other team, because when you're in the paint and you're going in, rather you're going for a layup or whatever, or jump shot, you're actually forcing the players to play defense, in which fouls will be called. When it comes down to that fourth quarter, you know, and you got the other team in foul problems, the advantage is in your pocket. And I think that's the best way of winning and playing basketball. At least that's how I've always looked at it. That's how I've always played, just to fight it out. I don't. The shots are great, hitting the threes out there. They're great, but you can't be. That my personal opinion is you can't be really shooting a high number of threes and hoping to win, because you'll miss them shots. And then what are you gonna do? When you could have went for, you could drove in the lane and probably try to throw one up, missed it, but at least you got to the foul line, right? And still had an opportunity for taking 2 shots there, and trying to get yourself the victory. So that's how I look at things. But and that's why I like Thibs. So I'm very surprised New York, the owner, decided to go ahead and fire, and now they can't find a coach. Good job, bud. Good job, New York. Always coming up with the greatest things, the greatest ideas, the greatest ways of doing things. That's what you bums get. Fired your coach. Ridiculous. And you can't find no one now. No one, and you were trying to recruit, trying to tell other teams to let you interview other coaches while they're already under contract. Good stuff there. I'm telling you. All right, so that's basically what's going on in the NBA right now. Um, well, I mentioned a little earlier about Kevin Durant. Obviously, it looks like he wants out of um, of Phoenix. There's rumor mills being tweeted left and right. Who knows where he's going to go? San Antonio is a spot they're talking about. I think Houston was mentioned, and then the Miami Heat's the other team that's mentioned. It's kind of interesting. That's where he's looking to go. Only reason I looked at it that way is probably because in Florida, taxes, right? There's no income tax over there. And I think something like that, I'm not too sure, but I think something like that is also in Texas, where it's low income tax, if there's any. I think it's low there. So I just found that very interesting with you, to be honest, that Kevin Durant at this point in his season, at his career, sorry, is looking to go to those teams, because I don't see Miami being a contender. They may make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll be a serious contender to get to the finals. San Antonio, possibly they'll get into the playoffs. Are they going to be a contender to be in the finals? Maybe. And the Rockets, I guess. I don't know. It's it is unique. It is interesting. That's where Kevin Durant wants to go, which is, I mean, it's his choice. Um, Obviously, they're working it out somehow. Um, but yeah, that's rumor, a rumor mill out there. Nothing came out of him of where he wants to go, and players not really going to say anything until some things uh, start moving forward. They're not going to really say much because they don't want to upset anyone, which is fine. That's a business decision, and you have to respect that. Um, I don't see why he would do that. My personal opinion. It would be nice to see him go back to Oklahoma, where he started, well, technically where he started, but it would be nice to see if he goes to Oklahoma, to a younger team like the Thunder or the Pacers, maybe the Knicks. There was rumors about him maybe looking at New York, um, only because those teams are going forward, and there's potential there with those teams to go further into the playoffs and get back to especially for Indiana and Oklahoma, to get back into the finals. So I would look at those teams. That's just me. If I'm Kevin Durant at this point in my career, but hey, I'm not, and that's him. That's his decision. So whatever he comes up with, we'll all respect it, and hopefully, he'll have a good season next year with whatever he decides. Him and his family, whatever they decide to go with. So yeah, that's what's going on in the NBA. So it is interesting um, to watch these playoffs. It's always good, to be honest. These playoffs, even though they were saying that the viewing, the ratings have been very low. Um, because I know, obviously, and we've talked about this before in one of the episodes, that because they're in the central of America, they're right in the central of the United States. They're like mid market. They're not the high markets like New York or LA or Philly or Miami. Um, they're in the mid market range. Um, that's why the viewership is low. But man, the playoffs, this series has been great to watch, in my opinion. Just that one game I was telling you about, the fourth quarter, where I was like dying of watching. Like I was literally falling asleep on my couch. Kept waking up to see if anything changed. But it was a slow game, that one. But other than that, but it's been a great series to watch them grind it, fight it out, go for the balls, go for the steals. You don't watch it, you don't see that. Both teams, attacking on defense, trying to get the steal, and get a steal and get the shot in. It's been like that. This type of game and hasn't been around for a while now. And so, to me, in my opinion, and I think a lot of folks that are from my era, from my age group, probably feel the same way as well. So let's see what happens between Oklahoma and Indiana going forward. Let's see who wins this series. But again, great series to that has been going on. And in other news, I was telling you guys earlier that this month has been June has been interesting for the Sikhs. So I do want to talk about that a little bit with you guys. Um, so 1984 for the Sikhs, um, it's one of the darkest times for Punjabis overall and Sikhs in particular, because during that time there was a lot of conflict that was going on back in India, in Punjab and Delhi. A lot of conflict that was going on, and where there was, you know, the government at the time, you know, wasn't trusted by the Sikhs, and it seemed um, a lot was going against the Sikhs to to um, to take them out completely. At least, that's what we hear. And that's what I've learned and I've read and I've talked to my family about. Because my family was obviously I'm born in '83, so I wasn't even a year old when all this started stuff was going on, and it was going on prior to my birth in like the mid '70s and stuff. Things were going on that led to what we call this dark cloud in '84 in Punjab. So um, every year, typically, we recognize um, the folks that were killed in 1984 because of what happened with Operation Blue Star, and basically where um, the leader of the Sikhs at the time, Sant, they call him Santa Singh Jarnail Singh Bhinderwale, who was we came in, did a movement to lead the Sikhs to make them realize that the Indian government is trying to cleanse them to some degree, and the way our culture is, the way the religion is, and all that stuff, and the faith. And so there was a lot of clashes that was going on. It was actually going on for a while, um, in the early '70s, and basically what happened was um, the government decided. So they were trying to get Bindervana and his group um, arrested, and they were on the run in India and Punjab. And eventually, they housed themselves at the Golden Temple, um, and they housed themselves at the Golden Temple, and the Indian military had surrounded it, and they were planning on for him to come on out, his people. However, that never happened, and attacks occurred between the two, and basically a lot of folks had died in Amritsar at the Golden Temple. That this these the Janelle Singh Bhindranwale, him and his group, a lot of them were found dead in there because the Indian government, with the military, had attacked the Golden Temple, and they really trashed. I mean, it's it was a time it should have never happened, and I know from that point on into the mid '90s, there was a lot of things happening, and my family, they, my uncles, they all told me, I would talk to them about it, and they would tell me stories and stuff about how they were just picking up, young men and just kidnapping them and then executing them, and bodies were to be found or not found. And sometimes some were returned, some were released, some were not, some were gone. And, those, for at least 10 years there, there was some troubling time in Punjab, right? And my grandmother used to tell me that her biggest fear was that that her boys were going to get kidnapped and killed. My oldest, my eldest uncle, my mom's oldest brother, who was 1 year younger than her, he actually had came out. He actually already left India and came to America. But the two younger ones, they didn't leave. They actually, my mom sponsored for them, and I think they got here in 1991. But my grandmother used to tell me they used to be in fear um, during that course. They were always in fear that these two might get picked up. Though they were never involved in anything. They were my two younger uncles are pretty innocent. They were never involved with anything at all. They went to school. They worked on the farm, and they came home, and they would tell us um, that you know as soon as night fell, they were told to come home right away. They were not allowed to stay late outside because they didn't know, even though things were happening, and things happened during the daytime. There were things happening, but they were always advised, stay close, not to go too far. And they were always together. There was always a group of them together. It wasn't just uh, my one uncle going off doing his thing or working in the field. There's always a couple of people working together. So they always kept a group together. But yes, and so I've heard those stories and I listen to them, and it's you know to to one thing is to hear about it. Man, just to live it, it's it is frightening, and so those times were tough for a lot of our people, Sikh people, Punjabi people, because it's actually not the Sikhs as well. It's also the Hindus that went through some troubling times. So it was troubling times for both sides actually, and it was just I don't know how to say, but they clashed. The government was forcing their way, and they did whatever. And this and Sant Singh Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, he tried to do everything to um to save the Sikhs and to put them on a better place. But just the way things turned out to be during that time, it's just unfortunate. So in the first week of June, we always recognize and we always remember those events that occurred. And what we try to do um, in here in the United States, not just in our gurdwaras and our temples, where we honor those and we remember those um, that lost their lives during those times by doing bhat and seva and all that stuff. We've taken for the past 10 years to recognize it on house floors here in the U.S. And every year, um, we would try to do something, in the Senate, in the state, in Pennsylvania here, Jersey would do theirs. Other states would try as well, Utah, Indiana, Texas, California. But past few years, we've been actually pushing it in DC, and we actually had past couple years we've been doing a prayer service in Washington D.C. Where we would bring our own Granthi meaning our priest, um, and do a prayer in English. So this year, this went a little viral. This did go viral. We had a priest come from Vineland, New Jersey, and he did a prayer on the house floor, and which was perfectly fine. What was disturbing, what happened after that was a a house a representative from the state of Illinois decided to tweet out an image of this prayer. of the Babaji, or the priest doing the prayer, and she stated it's deeply troubling that a Sikh was allowed to lead prayer in the House of Representatives this morning. This should have never been allowed to happen. America was founded as a Christian nation, and I believe our government should reflect the truth and not drift from further from it. She first tweeted that it was a Muslim, and I guess somebody woke her up. No, that's not a Muslim. That's a Sikh. That was number one. Number two, then she decided to delete it. So somebody else must have woke up. Whoa, 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 whoa! Break that down. Take that down. Whoa! So they took it down. Well, here's the thing. This country was founded on basis of freedom of religion. You can express whatever religion you believe in. It doesn't matter if he was Muslim or if he was Sikh or if he was Christian or Catholic or Buddhist. Everyone, if there's a House of Representative member or even a U.S. senator wants to invite somebody to do the prayer services, they're allowed to. It's not a problem. And what gets to me about this one is that it was a Republican representative from New Jersey who invited the priest to do the prayer. So what is going on? And hey, listen, folks, I'm a Republican myself. And you guys know this most of the part. I am a Republican. And I stand by Republican values. But man, what are you guys doing? What were you thinking? Not that I'm a Republican, like Inder's a Republican, and you should listen to me. But what are you thinking? You can't be going out there and saying whatever you had said in regards to blasting this priest. You're the state rep of Illinois. Sure, you're outside of. Um, I know. Looking you up, you're outside of Chicago area. You may not have a lot of Sikhs as constituents in your district. Okay, but it was just a prayer service. What did he do wrong? It's ridiculous for someone to even come up with that. And so, quite evidently, it blew up. And it blew up in her face because, of course, the Democrats were going to take it and run with it, right? They were going to do it. But even Republicans got up and said, "What the heck are you doing? There's no room for this." It's just a simple prayer that this priest did. And what did he say? All he said was he's looking for the well-being of everyone that's on the grounds of the United States dirt, on the soil of the United States everyone that lives here. It's all he said. And that was hurtful. Was that hurtful? Or was it the fact that the man wore a yellow turban or a gold turban? Was that hurtful? It's ridiculous. Come on, it's 2025. You know, the internet sits right on our palm of our hands. You know, Facebook and Meta and Google and Apple, they're actually going to make the internet into your glasses now. Come on. Information is readily available. What was it there that why did you have to come out and say anything about it? You just made yourself look bad. And you pretty much upsetted a lot of people. You pissed off a lot of people. You may not care sitting where you're at, but man, that's not right. It's wrong. And listen, one of the things that we say in our religion, in the Sikh religion, is that we always believe that my God, is the same as your God. That we're all equal. We're all His children. We're not. We don't ever say, "No, you're a Christian, so your God is different." Oh, you're a Muslim, your God is different because you call him Allah. No, we always believe. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter at all. We all believe that we're His children. There's only one God in this world, and we're all His children. That's what we believe. And man, it is a shame for this representative in Mary Miller to come out and tweet this and be narrow minded. And I'm sorry, I don't know Miss Miller like that. I don't know her at all. Um, and I don't like to make claims. I don't like to say things about a person without getting to know them. I think that's wrong. But Miss Miller, you did the same. That's what exactly you did by putting that tweet out without even getting to know that who that individual was, how that individual came, and what did the individual say during that prayer service. Without even thinking for a thought, you put that tweet out. And so I firmly believe you are narrow minded. And it's sad because this is 2025. And like I said, the information is on your palm of your hands now. It's quick, you can look it up. And you don't even need to Google no more. You got Chat GPT. You can ask a quick question. What group of individuals wear a wrap around their head? Because that's what people like to call it sometimes. They don't call it a term, they'll just call it a wrap. And ChatGPT will pop that answer out real quick for you. You know what? While I'm sitting here on my cell phone, I'm going to ask that question right now. And there you go. I asked a simple question and we'll post it on here and I'll show it right down on the screen. Which group of individuals wear a wrap around their heads is what I asked. ChatGPT says the group of individuals who commonly wear a wrap around their heads are Sikhs, who often wear a turban, traditionally called a dastar or pagri. And then they go on a little more to explain. And what did that take me? 20 seconds? A quick question I asked, 20 seconds? And you couldn't do that yourself to find out, Miss Miller, who wears wraps around their heads? And you couldn't, and then once you did it, and you realize, oh, the question is a Sikh, and you probably don't know who Sikhs are, probably don't. Sorry, being ignorant here, because you were ignorant. You could pop another question real quick. Who are the Sikhs and what do they stand for? And just like that, it would have popped an answer for you, and then you would have realized we're the most peaceful group in this world. We only talk about loving, caring, being at peace, and sharing meals with each other as we live in this world until our time comes, just to share and spread love with everybody. And this is how Representative Miller, you displayed yourself. And I apologize that I'm being ignorant, but man, you pulled that card real fast. And it's sad. And I sat on this for a while since this happened. This actually happened June 6th, of the Friday. And today's the 17th. I've sat on this for a while. I didn't know how I wanted to go about it, what I wanted to say. I was pretty irked up about it. You can ask a couple of my friends. As soon as I saw, I sent a screenshot to a couple of my American friends, and I was really pissed. Um, but I didn't come out on the podcast right away to talk about it. Um, because it's it's kind of hurtful in those things. Like, we so here's where I was at with this is because I had told you guys before, we did a lot of work here after 9/11 to get people to realize and understand who Sikhs really are. And it was nothing against the Muslim community by any means. It's just that we had realized that Americans really didn't know who were Sikhs, where they come from, what are they, what are they about, what's their beliefs, and all that stuff. They didn't know. And in our in this region that we live in Delaware County, Philadelphia, this whole general area, we did a lot of work, and one of my good friends who I take a lot of advice from. I chat with him a lot. He's one of my colleagues at the office. He mentioned to me that he always says to me, "Bro, I know who the Sikhs are. I used to work. One of his jobs that he used to do back in the day was to repair, I think, refrigerators or something, coolers, for gas stations. Well, see, one of the jobs that Sikhs really had when they were new, when people when new show up here to work on gas stations. They're the only jobs they could really get, or be a cab driver, or now an Uber driver, obviously. But he would tell me that even if he was just saying this then, he's like, man, he's like, the problem with you guys is that you guys still aren't, people still don't realize who you guys are. And it bothered me. Not what he said bothered me, but just that thought bothered me because I know for a fact, my family knows for a fact, I've spent a lot of time and energy uh, with others to make awareness of who Sikhs are. Now, for me, a guy that trims his beard, cuts his hair, I'm fine, right? I am fine. But my dad wasn't after 9/11. My uncles are not. They still wear the turbans, or my dad did. But my uncles wear turbans, right? My grandfather, up until January, when he passed away, he wore a turban proudly. Um, so they all wear turbans, and a lot of people here wear turbans. And our goals have always been to to get people to realize and understand who Sikhs really are. We don't cause no harm. We, and I'm not taking shots at any other group, but we truthfully are people that want to live amongst everybody and spread love and peace, and share meals with each other. That's all we care about. That's one of the things that have always been taught to us. And believe in God and in His sayings, basically, and really understand that with one another. And I that's the stuff we did for since 2001. And I get it, in 2001, the internet, it was dial-up, right? It's the dial-up system, the AOL system, where you heard the ring, the dial tone, right? And fast internet, cable internet didn't really come out to like 2007, and then obviously Fios didn't come out to like 2010 or whatever. This fiber optics, and then the phone internet really didn't come readily available till 2009, 2010, and now the way speeds are, and like I just showed you, ChatGPT, right? I get it if it was 10, 15, 20 years ago that um, people still don't know us. But not now, man. Not now. Come on, we're everywhere. We're doing things. Um, we have Golden State over there with the Warriors. There's always a Bhangra group, right? A dance group that for Golden State and also for the Sacramento Kings. They're always out there doing during half times, doing expressing our culture and stuff. In Philly, we actually did this. A couple of my friends, they actually did this. Um, Sikh night out with the Sixers, or Sixers night out, something like that, with the SIKH, or it was something relevant to that. I'll put out pictures for that too, where we did that. And so in the NBA side of it, like politically, we were already doing things, right? Um, we did other things, and then we got into the NBA stuff, and we're always doing where we're sharing meals and stuff. Um, we used to do it in Camden, New Jersey, where one of my close friends, Tony, he has started this initiative where we would pick a Saturday out of the month and distribute food, langar. Um, and basically, it was made um, at our gurdwaras, at our temples, and with a prayer, and we would serve out meals to the homeless, to the needy, whoever wanted food. We serve it. We'd be there from 11 o'clock up until it was the last, the last meal when, and that could have been 2 o'clock, that could have been 4 o'clock, but we were always distributing. In Camden, I know there's folks in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, I should say, that continue to do it. The Trenton area, up there, up in Newark, they do it. We have people in Delaware and they do it as well. So, we're always trying to do the best that we can to tell and make people aware who Sikhs are. And it bothered me when I saw the tweet, and then when my friend had told me this, had said this to me, like, come on, man, you gotta be kidding me. The biggest Indian singer right now, worldwide, wears a turban. Diljit Dosanjh, right? I mean, for us, he's the biggest guy. Um, Getting to Coachella and shit, he just went to the Met Gala a couple weeks ago. The biggest thing for us. He's all over, right? And there's others that are doing big things in the entertainment world with Diljit. You have Priyanka Chopra. She's one of them. She's a Sikh as well, Punjabi background. Um, there's Lily Singh. She's doing tremendous work as well. It's like we're almost everywhere, and yet here we are with a tweet that started out this nonsense all over again. We don't mean harm. So why are you coming out? You should have literally, you should have had searched it real quick, either on Google or ChatGPT or whatever you use on your phone, your devices. You should have definitely done something. So it's terrible for you did that, but you know what? I'm just in the positive side of it. I look at as well that tweet went viral. The backlash or whatever went viral. The positive in it is that I hope um, Miss Miller, Representative Mary Miller, learned from this a little bit and understood, uh, you know, that this tweet shouldn't have happened, and really understood who the Sikhs were, and to also for her constituents and others out there learned that yeah, these are Sikhs. They're not bad, and we only care for we really care for everybody. We don't mean any harm, and to you, Miss Miller, nobody means any harm to you either. Just you said what you said, and that kind of upset everybody, but nobody really means harm to you by any means. We don't believe in any of that stuff. Because one of the biggest things is that that we have. It's called Sarbat da Pala, meaning the welfare of for all, for everyone. That's ingrained in all of us, just about, to protect and believe in the welfare for everybody. That's how we all are. Doesn't matter how we come. So I just hope, you, Miss Miller, you learned this from this little mishap that occurred, and I hope everybody else also learns from this as well. Um, that that Sikhs, the prayers are really for what we pray, and what we respect everybody. We respect all religions. I've been to churches. I've been to a mosque. Um, I've listened to the prayers, and I respect them. And I'll listen, and I'll bow down, and I'll fold my hands, and I'll listen to the priest at a church saying their prayers, and do the cross thing as well. Where you guys do this and say amen. I do it all the time. I do it as well because I respect everybody, and we all do. We all respect everyone's culture, everyone's background, because that's all we care about is everybody welfare. That's what we care about. And so at the end, I hope, people start realizing this, that this is how Sikhs are basically. We just love everybody, and we want to make sure everyone is protected and is safe, and they're doing well for themselves. And we'll be the first ones when things really go bad. We'll be the first ones. I mean, look at Khalsa Aid. Look them up. Khalsa Aid, AID. Uh, they're based out of England. Ravi Singh, who's the founder, his group, which is now, I want to say they're worldwide now, but they're the first ones to jump up right away to support. I mean, Europe a couple of years ago had some terrible floods. I mean, terrible floods. Khalsa aid members were right there, and they traveled over, and they started helping them with whatever they could have, whether it was with getting them food, getting them shelter, getting them clothes, helping the children out. They were there. And then down in the Middle East with all the stuff that goes on down there, they're always helping out the poor folks over there that need the help, that need the aid. They're in Asia, they're always helping and supporting them out as well. And they're just look them up and watch some of their videos, some of the things they have done, some of the tremendous work they've done. Like Ravi Singh is one of the I don't know how to say it. He's probably the most respected person that we know. I have a lot of respect for him, a lot of admiration for him, for a person, man. And when you read about his history and what he has become now, wow, the type of person he was as a young gentleman, and the devotion he's given to seva, to do selfless service, to help the neighbors and everyone out there in the world, because that's all he cares about, him, his family, and his team. That's all they care about, is how to help everybody, because that's the message that has always been told to us by all of our gurus, starting with Guru Nanak Dev Ji. That's the message that has always been told to us, to help everybody, and to support everybody, and make sure everybody's protected. And then if you have to fight a tyranny or oppression, then fight it, and go when you need to go to fight into wars and battles and stuff, if it has to be against oppression or tyranny. But other than that, be at calm and peace, and just help anyone that's in need of it. And that's what Call to Aid and Ravi Singh's and his entire team stand for. Just Google that. Just look them up. Watch a YouTube video on them. You'll see. So I hope Miss Miller and everybody else uh, that do not know Sikhs as much uh, learn from this as well. And you know, that's all we can ask for. Is just to understand us better. Um, of who we are and stuff and what we believe in. We're not bad people. And you know what? And I know people don't like, still there's that mind thought of Muslims and stuff like that. They're not they're not bad people. There's just bad seeds. And every group has bad seeds. And hey, Sikhs, I'm just thinking we might have some bad seeds as well. But everybody has them. And no, my vision and my friends, my coworkers, everybody will tell you I'm the type of guy that doesn't look at bad. I look at the positives. I always look at the positive side of it. I always try to look at the good side of everything, because at my age right now, I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy, um, and be happy with everybody and see others happy at the same time as well. That's how I am, and that's why I don't see. I mean, sure, there's people that are bad out there. I'll see it, but I try to always try to come overcome that and try to find the good in them. I mean, if they're bad, they're bad. Hey, I know one uh, that's been chipping away lately, and he's part of my community, part of the Sikh community in Upper Darby. That guy's been chipping away really, really bad. Um, but again, bad seed. There is a bad. That's a bad seed. There you go. He's a bad seed. But that's that. And but I still try to find the good. I still try to find the good in him. I tried. But you know, he's really pushing my buttons. Um, and I'm not going to mention names. Trust me, I'm not going to mention names. But if he's watching, if he's watching, he knows. He knows I'm talking about him. Bud. Yeah. Every dog has his day, right? Every dog has his day. That's okay, bud. It's okay. Anyway, don't want to get don't want to get into that. I'm sorry. I apologize, folks. That's not the type of stuff I want to do. I don't want to get into controversies or whatever on the Inder Bains show. No, that's not what we're about. We're only about to talk about politics, talk about sports, have fun, enjoy. That's what I'm about on the show. My personal things that happen up there, we're not gonna. I apologize. I should never brought that on here. But hey, anyway, so that's the things I wanted to talk to you guys about with the NBA playoffs, with um, the stuff that's been happening in June, with this the first week of June. Again, that the first week of June every year is between June 1 to June 1st to June 6th, basically, with Operation Blue Star. So that's always going to get recognized, and you'll see that everywhere. Um, if you haven't, but you'll definitely see it. It'll probably show up once in a while. Every year, you'll start noticing it as things are. People try to recognize and remember the lost Sikhs in those troubling times. And again, that was back in the 1980s, right? In the 70s to the 80s, and a lot of it ended by like 94, 95, basically. But times have different in India now. Um, things have changed. Punjabis and Sikhs in India, it seems like they're very happy where they're at. Definitely, you can't tell with the prime minister over there. Sometimes it's hard to tell what they're thinking about, but he does acknowledge. I'm not going to take anything away from him in that sense. We do believe that Prime Minister Modi has that he only has his own agenda and stuff. Um, but he does carry Sikhs around him, and he actually has some good Sikhs around him. I think so. Um, there's a few of them that I believe they're okay. That's my opinion. Don't kill me for it, but that's my opinion. That's how I see it. And I could definitely be wrong. Like I said, I could be definitely wrong. If I am wrong, I promise I will apologize to everyone. Um, if I am wrong in that sense. But yeah. But I think in India in today's time, um, they're they're trying to change stuff and revolutionize the way the economy grows over there. So there's a lot of things that are happening there. So it's hard to say, but I talk to my relatives there once in a while. I'll give them a call and see how things are. And nothing too bad they talk about, nothing negative in that sense. So it is what it is. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today, episode 3 with the Inder Bains show. Um, Again, I want to always have fun, enjoy, and talk to you guys. Do you guys have any comments, any remarks? Please let me know. Definitely want to know. I might have had my stats wrong somewhere um, about the Pacers game I was about to say Indiana, but that is Indiana. I meant to say Oklahoma. But yeah, definitely let me know any comments. And if you don't have to talk about the Pacers, you don't have to talk about that. If you want to talk about the Sikh, the stuff I just talk about, the tweet and stuff like that, we could talk. You mention something about that, or just give me a shout out. Let me know what I'm doing. How am I doing? I like the little critics. Like to hear about that. See what might be going on. Where I could fix myself and make my thing better a little bit here. But yes, thank you guys for joining in. I will look forward to speaking to you guys more in next week. I think we will have a show coming up soon with one of my dear friends, my little brother, who's also my doctor. So that's gonna be. I'm excited for that one. That's gonna be fun with him when he comes down, and we're gonna do a live show with him. Um, so yeah, can't wait for that episode to show up. That'll be good times. So thank you guys again for joining in. You guys have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your week. I'll see you on the next episode.